picked a few bits of McTominay, and I've been basically waiting for Serie A to end to see whether they won it or not before I kind of picked Scott and his achievements. But scoring borderline Bicey scissors
that
kick.
goal is something else, man.
Yeah.
Doing that in the final game of the season to make sure you win. Winning the MVP, which is a very American thing to have brought into a league structure, which I quite like. And the reaction of the Napoli fans are kind of all encompassed in these clips. I just like Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
There's something about the way the fans have adapted Scotto McTominay.
Yeah.
And just
I didn't know anything about him until I saw this clip.
There's also lots of jokey names about him because they find it hard to say McTominay. So they call him MacGyver, McTerminator, McFratum, or Apribogic. I can't say it, but it's the bottle opener because he always scores the first goal.
The bottle opener is a great name.
There's one which is it's an in joke because they can't. It's hard for Italians to say McFlurry. So what they say for McFlurry is what they say for McTominay as well. I followed his success through the tweets of Mark Nelson, the Scottish comic, who you must have worked with, Mike.
Yeah, I like Mark.
He's very, very funny, Mark. But he's a huge fan of Scottish football, and obviously Scott's success in Italy is brilliant for the Scottish national team because Billy Gilmore's at Napoli as well, which is very exciting for the Scots. And Mark thinks about Scottish players in the same way I think about Welsh players, because he gets quite defensive over them when they get unfair stick. And he got loads of unfair stick at United, Scott McTominay.
Yes.
And he was sort of seen as the problem when it clearly wasn't him. And you get United...
Clearly Fred. But
you get United players, fans saying, he's just not a United player, he's not good enough to be a United player. And he was often the fall guy for some reason. And now he's gone to Napoli. He's learnt the language, which they love. So he does interviews in Italian. He does messages for fans in Italian.
Oh,
he's also completely fallen in love with the lifestyle in Naples.
What a surprise. It's a great place.
And I read a really funny interview with him a few months ago where he was talking, he was like, I used to hate fruit and veg when I lived in England and Scotland. But he was like, you should try the tomatoes.
It's all like golden delicious and carrots.
He was like, you should try the tomatoes in Naples. Brilliant.
So he's
I eat tomatoes all the time.
He's talking like a guy who's rented a villa for a fortnight in Portugal.
Yeah.
And has gone to the market and gone, if you slice them up, put some olive oil on them, it's fucking lush.
Man, they're so nice.
That's a whole pig. First time I saw a pig in the freezer in Portugal, like, what are you doing,
lads?
And then you go to Spa in Botelli and they're doing it, and then you're like, oh my God. But this interview where he was talking about the quality of life and the pace of life, but crucially about the quality and the standards for fruit and veg, like locally grown fruit and vegetables. He was honest. It was very, very sweet. And now he's had this incredible season. And the thing with Napoli, they're a massive club. But if you compare them, say, to the big three in Italy of, both Milan sides and Juve, they haven't actually won the league that many times. I think this is the fourth league they've won. So they won 2 under Maradona, late 80s, early 90s. Then they won 1 a couple of years ago, 2023, I think it was. So they had the core of that team is still in the side. But he is one of the missing pieces of the jigsaw, which is
my
amazing.
Goodness, the tomatoes. I never ate them at home. They're just like red water. Here they actually taste like tomatoes. Now I eat them as a snack.
But you're the first one we have
the fruit.
Like organic vine tomatoes, like big beefsteak ones. They're lush.
Yeah.
But it has to be
Bit
abroad.
of black pepper and salt on them.
Oh,
and then
nothing better.
And then when you come back from abroad and you have a night out and then you have a kebab at the end of the night, and they say, you want salad? I don't know where they're getting their tomatoes from, kebab shops, but it's certainly not Italy.
Well, just the ones you buy in Tesco, put on a cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Just don't bother.
Red water.
All you're going to get is seeds in your teeth and be underwhelmed. Big, lovely, big, proper tomatoes.
Oh, yes.
I used to work with a guy in Cardiff in an office when I was temping years ago. and he was planning his retirement. So he was approaching 50, and he'd been very diligent with his money, and so was going to take early retirement.
Weird.
But he was just like, I'm going to move to Spain, and I'm going to eat tomatoes every day, Elis. Big, beefy tomatoes every day when I retire. I'm 48. We're 2 years away from me eating tomatoes every day. I'd be like, nice one, Paul. I was like 21. But yeah.
So how old is he now? He's been out there. He must be 70
He'll
now.
have been out for, he'll be in his 70s.
Wonder if he's still eating tomatoes. Still going strong.
Probably. Yeah.
That was his dream. He was completely driven by tomatoes.
Yeah.
He never used to mention his wife. He used to mention the tomatoes more than his wife.
Yeah.
You go and is your wife excited? Yeah. But the size
but
of
if you've
the
eaten the
tomato.
same tomato for 40 years, you'd be fucked off, wouldn't you? He likes new tomatoes.
It's a way of looking at it.
Different tomatoes.
Different
tomatoes.
Different tomatoes. Better tomatoes.
Better tomatoes.
Better, younger, riper, more firm tomatoes. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
I'm not knocking my wife. She's a lovely tomato. I'm just saying.
He's gone on
when
holiday.
She's past the sell-by, I'll still, I would never fool around.
No.
You think of those new tomatoes, mate, wouldn't you?
You're having a breakdown.
You're having a single entendre breakdown.
Kelly, I love you. You listen to this.
Because you're arguing about Bruce Lee online with strangers and you're comparing your wife to tomatoes.
I think the script writing may have got to you.
Yeah. But that's fine. It's a stressful old business.
No, but I'm saying that's why he doesn't talk about his wife. He's probably been married he's 48. He's been married for 20
we got what you were doing. It's fine. None of us thought you were talking about tomatoes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the analogy. It's fine.
You get it?
I'm really clever.
Yeah, okay, yeah. How clever are you? How good your
clever.
voice compared to 80% of pop singers?
I'm top 80, not top. I wouldn't be able to do 90% of them, but I'll have a go. I also like, with McTominay, I like the fact that United were clearly just playing him in the wrong position a lot of the time.
Yeah.
As well. So playing him in midfield, playing him centre back.
Well, I didn't know him, so I had to Google him.
Yeah.
And I looked, he went through the academy. And then he goes there as a young. Never really doesn't seem to ever get a proper run of games. Doesn't get a proper innings at any point. And then they ditch him for like 27 million or something he went for.
Yeah. But
now he's the best player in Italy.
But the amount of managers that have been in United during his career, you are going to have little runs of games, and you aren't going to get the best out of players. That's exactly what.
Well, is it Johnny Evans retired? And he obviously had played under Ferguson.
Yes.
And so he is now, because he's the last link to Ferguson, Man United now have someone who didn't play under Alex Ferguson for the first time since like 1973 or 74.
I dislike the stat because Ferguson obviously comes in the 80s.
Yeah, 1986, yeah.
And they say, it's the last time, it's the first time that Ferguson won't have influenced the team since, well, no, he didn't influence them in the 70s. He just got a load of players from that.
It is a mad stat, though.
Don't like it. Yeah.
But with McTominay, and this brings me back to Mark, it's like Ramsey was often played out of position at Arsenal. And you really knew how good he was.
I read about him. And talk about Paul he managed at United. He put on 14 inches of height in 2 years. Which obviously caused a whole lot of injuries, right? Because you imagine the connective tissues and your ligaments and everything, your muscles and your tendons. You grow over a foot in 2 years.
14 inches, Jesus
Mad, isn't it?
Christ, yeah.
You went from like 5 foot to 6'2" in 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can have a lot of injuries and coordination problems.
Yeah, that's the bit, is the coordination.
Because your feet aren't where they used to be and now's your head.
Yeah.
Right? But isn't though, is it? Such fine margins. So you obviously got to stick with that person. Because he's the same player when he goes to Napoli.
Yeah.
A month later, he's the same player as he was a month before, but now he's in a system, they're giving him time.
Yeah. And they're playing him.
And he's scoring goals for fun. That sort of semi-bicey. Your piece to grab the defender's shirt.
Yeah. Just to get himself a little bit of leverage.
A little bit of leverage, yeah. It was a hell of a finish, though. I hit it down from there, not up.
I love it.
Lovely, beautiful. Yeah, they love him over there, don't they?
It's like, when Spurs players criticise Ben Davies, it really gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
And when Arsenal fans used to criticise Ramsey when he was being played out of position because to get the best out of Ozil, and Ramsey never complained about that. He just got on.
Well,
with
Mark
it.
Hughes, like, you imagine when, but also the fact that they got the whole section of the crowd going, Scott, McTominay, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You rise that then, didn't you? You've gone from being a fall guy and a scapegoat to being the bloke they love.
Yes.
So you sort of play, I think it works both ways. If you keep getting told you're shit and it's your fault, that can't not influence your game.
I did the Alternative Wales, the fanzine I chose in the book choice a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
They sold so many copies after that. The old Distant Pod effect.
Yes.
But they did like a takeover of a football bar called the Volley on Old Street in East London yesterday. Yeah. So they had lots of like sort of Q&A style sessions. So they had Danny Gabardon and Dav Pritchard and Katie Owen and Ryan from Alternative Wales talked about Welsh football in the media. I did one with Johnny Owen and a couple of others about the sort of Wales away scene and the culture around it. And then they had Tim Williams and Spirit 58. Joanna Guy runs a label called Cumbrensis, and Tony Rivers talking about like fashion and Wales fans. And then their DJs. It was a really good day. But we were talking about going to do Wales away, and we're taking 4,500 to Belgium next week.
Fair play.
Which is going to be great. But the players obviously thrive off that.
Oh, yeah.
Apart from Stuart Pearce, no one thrives off being booed. He used to say to his managers, I don't want praise because I'll stop. I need to be criticised. So no matter how well he'd played, he'd be like, tell me I'm shit. But most people don't thrive under that sort of pressure.
One right here. I do not thrive under that.
God, no. Yeah,
you boo me, I will crumble.
I crumble, yeah.
Tell me I'll dwell on it.
I am made of powder.
I will focus on that real
hard.
I
will react poorly and go to court.
Yeah.
Poorly and violently sometimes.
But it's massive for the Scotland national team to have a player like that.
Of course it is.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Jealous.
Yeah, but jealous and kind of chuffed for them as well.
Yeah, of course.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Not massively, but kind of.
No, I know a lot of Scotland fans. My brother knows a big Scotland fan, so I am pleased. But it is big now. That him and Gilmore and they've got a nucleus of some really good players, Scotland.